Welcome back to the MOOC course on research writing. My name is Aradhana Malik and I'm helping you with this course. And the course is drawing to a close, and I know I've received a number of suggestions from all of you regarding what can and should be included. We've tried to accommodate as much of what you need as possible, but the time has come to finally wind up everything. And the last topic that I'm going to address in this course is managing reviewer comments. So we are assuming that you've finished your paper, you've written your paper, you've submitted to a journal. Now you have started getting comments, in response to what you have submitted. So how do you respond to those comments? How do you deal with the issues that come up while you are trying to publish your work, etc. So if there is anything else that we need to add to all of this, I'll see if our technical team is able to accommodate requests to add more lectures after the final conclusion is over, or maybe I'll put up some material. I'll try and help you as much as possible. So let's see what we have for you here. We'll finish this and then we'll talk more about how the course has been wrapped up. So responding to reviewer comments. Now the type of reviews that you can expect to get are, you may accept, your paper is accepted with minor or no revisions, which is usually rare or practically impossible. The best of researchers do not get this kind of a review. So it is seemingly immature to expect that your paper will be accepted with minor or no revisions. You will obviously have done the best possible work that you think you can do. However, there is always scope for improvement. So please don't get disheartened. The best of researchers need to face failure and rejection of the best work that they have done multiple times before their work is finally accepted and published. So please don't be disheartened, but if this can, it will, if you have submitted your work to a good quality journal, acceptance with minor or no revisions. Minor revisions is still a possibility. Acceptance in its current form will probably happen when you are maybe 50, 60 years old with 20, 25, 30 years of research behind you. At that point, a stage could come when you have this, and then it's a big achievement. The other type of review that you can get is accept with major revisions, which is what usually tends to happen. So your paper is accepted but with major revisions, and you are expected to make major changes to your paper. You're expected to make significant changes. Things will be missing, things will need to be added, etc. Sometimes the journal may request you to rewrite your paper completely, and that is another possibility. Sometimes, based on the comments you get, you are unsure if your paper is rejected or requires a possible resubmission. For example, they just tell you, we cannot accept your paper in its current form, but if you do decide to submit, then we would only consider a substantial revision. So if that happens, then you need to deal with it differently. So let's see how you can deal with these different types of comments that you get on your paper. Okay, and of course you could have an outright rejection. They'll say, thank you very much for submitting your work. We are unable to publish your paper in its current form at this time. Now if that happens, please don't start crying. Cry, do vent, do feel angry, but then understand that this is something that will happen to first time submitters to top-notch journals. If you are submitting to a top journal, you must have done excellent work. You don't submit your work till you're sure that it's of a certain quality. So you may feel that your work is worthy of being published in a top-notch journal. Very nice. However, many times these top-notch journals are looking for something more. So if you get a total rejection and outright rejection, if you get a if you get a comment saying that we are unable to publish your work, please don't get disheartened. This happens to most of us, actually all of us. We do our best work even after 20, 30, 40 years of research. Many times we face rejection, many times we are told that our work cannot be accommodated in a specific journal. Please don't get disheartened. Understand that this is something that will happen to you the first time you submit your work to a top-notch journal, and accept it and move on. Now, how do you respond to outright rejection? What do you do? You can appeal to the editor for a change of referees. It doesn't work, but you are well within your rights to appeal to the editor for a change of referees. You think you've done excellent work and you would like somebody else to take a look at it from a fresh perspective. Fair enough. So that you can appeal. Usually the editor will not accommodate your request, and but you can still try. It may happen that you may get a change of referees and your paper may be accepted with major revisions. Submit elsewhere. Easiest thing to do. One journal doesn't accept your paper, you think it's fabulous, you take the feedback that you get from this outright rejection. Many times the referees will tell you what is missing in your paper, you submit it to another journal, or make those revisions and resubmit, even if they ask you to, they tell you that it's not acceptable in its current form. You make the changes, you take care of the problems that they have listed and try and resubmit it to the same journal, and if your paper has improved, they might consider it for publication. Now, dealing with the need to rewrite. If you are asked to rewrite your paper, then what do you do? Use the comments made by the reviewers, rewrite your paper and resubmit. Okay, very simple. Submit to another journal, always a possibility, and wait. If you are asked to make major revisions on your paper, what do? You revise using reviewers' comments, seek clarifications if you need clarifications, and resubmit and hope that your paper will be accepted. If you are asked to make minor revisions, then what do? You revise based on the reviewer's comments and resubmit as soon as possible without asking any questions unless absolutely required. They've asked you to make minor revisions. These revisions may or may not appeal to your sensibilities. So what? They ask you to put commas here and full stops there and remove certain words and add certain words. In the interest of saving time, humor them. They know what they are doing. You must understand that your reviewers are very experienced people who know what they are doing. They've asked you to make certain things. You can't question everything that comes your way. Yes, you may ask questions, but you resubmit, accept their experience, respect their experience and effort that has gone in for what it is worth, and resubmit the work with the clarification. It's usually, unless you're really confused, don't question what they are saying. Don't disagree with what they are saying. Just resubmit your work. Do not question or disagree with the reviewer at this stage, because they have taken the time. If they are really accepting your paper, that means they must have found it to be worthy of being accepted and published. So, you must not disagree with the reviewer. You must not question the reviewer for making small suggestions, and just say, okay, fine, you asked me to do this, the reviewers have put in a lot of time and effort, and most of the times reviewers don't get paid anything. Especially for top class journals, reviewing papers is a service we do to the academic community. It is done free of cost. We don't get paid for it, we don't get recognized for it. We review somebody else's work, somebody else reviews our work. So it's a kind of mutually beneficial sort of situation. We are helping each other out. So if somebody has taken time out of his or her busy schedule and has reviewed your paper and made certain comments and eventually found it worthy of publication, papers are not just, especially papers that are accepted, are not accepted, they are accepted after a lot of thought and insight has gone into your paper, into understanding your paper. So it takes more time to read a paper that is worthy of being accepted than it does to reject your paper. We do the same kind of work, but occasionally you see that as a reviewer, I can tell you that if the vision of the journal and the paper that has been submitted don't match, then it could be an outright rejection. Of course, when you're suggesting major revisions, many times the focus needs to be changed, things need to be clarified. But if you're accepting a paper, you need to be absolutely sure that the paper that you're accepting is of a certain quality, and it meets the standards, or it meets the, it upholds the reputation of your publication. So at that point, please do not question or disagree with the reviewer, just respect their experience and suggestions and go on with it. Now, how do you submit your responses? Read the suggestions and comments very, very carefully. I've used two veries here because you may tend to miss out or overlook certain things. Many times after we've had enough experience with writing papers, or we are at a certain age or stage in life, we feel that we know more than the other person. You may. But somebody who has specifically taken on the responsibility to review your paper and accept or and take a decision on the quality of your paper knows what they are doing. So if they have made a suggestion, please read their suggestions completely and very, very carefully. Acknowledge the work done by the reviewer and thank her or him for it. Like I told you, we don't get paid to review. So please acknowledge what they have done and say thank you for reviewing my paper, and then move on. Tabulate with the, you could tabulate the comments and your responses. So you could make a table and you could say, okay, comment number reviewer 1, comment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and action taken. Let me show you how you do it here. I'll just show you how to make that table. So many times good journals send your papers to several reviewers. So what you do is reviewer 1. So what you can do is you can tabulate your responses to the comments made by the reviewers. Now this is how you do it. I've made these tables for you. What you can do is typically your work, if you are submitting your work to a peer reviewed journal, your work is reviewed by 2 or 3 reviewers. Now when your work is reviewed by 2 or 3 reviewers, then what the ideal thing to do is just list their comments, because papers can run into 30-40 pages depending on which field you're from, what the size of your research is, etc. So you can just list their, if the comments are numbered, excellent. If they are not numbered, then what you can do is you can make a table like this. You can remove this, instead of saying comment number, you just say serial number. You say serial number, then you say comment and quote the exact comment that the reviewer has made and respond to it here. Respond to it in the revised paper, and also summarize the responses you have or your responses to the comments in the form of a table, so the reviewer knows that you have really taken pains to review their work. And then reviewer 1, reviewer 2, reviewer 3. So you will get 3 different reviews, and then you take all that and put it here on the sheet. You label this sheet as summary of responses to comments made by reviewers. Identify your paper. It's always a good idea when you're submitting something like this. You can mention the identification number of your paper on the top right hand corner. So over here in the header you mention, okay, document number or submission number. You'll have some sort of unique identification number, so you mention that here, and then you respond. And so even if typically your responses will run into several pages, and this header, once you mention this gives them a reference point, so they can pull out the original paper and then they can look at what you have done. So this is a very good idea to send with a covering letter when you respond to reviewer comments. Okay. Then answer completely, politely and with evidence. Now they would have asked you to do certain things, so respond to the comments made by the reviewers with the evidence, with logic, and very politely respond to their comments. Now many times, or occasionally, not many times, occasionally you may find that you disagree with the observations made by the reviewer. At that point, please feel free to disagree, but very politely and with evidence you say, thank you very much for noticing this, thank you very much for pointing this out. I understand your perspective, I understand or I can see why you have made this observation. However, I choose to disagree because of these reasons, reason 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a good idea if you incorporate all their comments. Occasionally the reviewer has not, see, realistically speaking, the reviewer has not had a chance to delve so deep into the specific area that you have written about. They would be experts in the field, they are expected to be experts in the field, but they would not have maybe had a chance to delve so deep into your area. Plus, what has happened is that you have spent months working on one study, the reviewer may have been doing something different. So the time they get to go through your work and understand things from your perspective is very little as compared to the time that you have spent writing it. So at that time you can disagree. Please tell them that you are seeing things from a different perspective. Maybe that will help sharpen your paper. Maybe you can build that explanation into your paper. So disagree if you must, but very politely and with evidence. In case of conflicting comments from multiple reviewers, occasionally what will happen is that you will get conflicting comments. So two reviewers are saying something totally different. One is saying one thing, the other is saying something different. So in case that is the case, then respond to the one that makes most sense to you and defend your lack of response to the other or your lack of adherence to the other comment using logic and evidence as to why you were unable to respond to the other reviewers, and that is absolutely fine, but please do it as politely as possible. Do acknowledge at every point, do acknowledge the work that has gone into making these comments into the review that you have received. Okay, now some tips for responding to reviewer and editor comments. You will get upset, you will feel uncomfortable that the work that you have worked so hard at, or what you have really put in so much of effort into has not been accepted. But then be angry, be upset, vent, and then finally get over it. Consider what the editor's decision letter really says. Don't be blinded by the negative comments. It is a very emotional thing because you have spent so much of time working on something. Writing a paper takes time, writing a paper is difficult, you've delved into it, you worked so hard at it, and somebody says, there's an outright rejection, or they ask you to make number of changes. So just try and find out what the editor's decision letter is actually saying. Then wait and gather your thoughts. Try and find out why they are saying this. As you get more and more experience with your work, you will realize that they are coming from a totally different perspective. They are seeing new knowledge being generated day in and day out. So what you think is new may not be so new from their perspective. The most common comment is, what is your contribution? The most common reason why papers are rejected outright is, what is your contribution? Or many times the clarity, the fit between the methods used and the research question is not very clear, or there is lack of adherence to the literature, or there is lack of enough emphasis on the previous literature. So you must wait and revisit what you have done in light of the reviewer's comments and assess things, and then start thinking about how to improve it. Even if the reviewer is wrong, it doesn't mean that you are right. There is some gap remaining. Okay, there must be a reason why the reviewer made the comment that he or she did. Choose your battles wisely. Too much of disagreement could result in rejection of your paper, like I told you. This is a free service that reviewers do to the academic community or for the academic community. They are spending time. Don't get angry, don't get upset with them. Agree to what the suggestions they are making, as long as it is not totally against the main theme of your paper, or unless you realize that they have totally misunderstood, or something in the way that you have said has led to a misinterpretation of your work. So at that point, feel free to disagree, but then find out where you should disagree and where you should just go and agree with whatever they are saying. Do not pitch one reviewer against another. Don't say that so and so has said this and you are saying this, and so I am agreeing with this person and I am disagreeing with you. And you have to keep all of them. You have to treat all of them with respect. Don't get them to fight with each other. So don't start a battle between two reviewers, that one feels this and you feel that. So please get together and decide what you want me to do. That may be a typical reaction, but that is not something that will help your paper get published. Be grateful for the reviewers and editors' time. Restate the reviewers or editors' comment when responding. It helps them refresh their memory. Many times reviewers review more than one paper, so restate their comments. Be prepared to cut text. Many times your paper gets rejected because it's too long. It has a lot of information that shouldn't be there. A lot of words are there that you can do without. So be prepared to reduce the length of your paper if required. And do not submit the same version to another journal. Submit the paper to another journal. Make the changes that your previous reviewers have given you or have advised, and then submit your paper to another journal. So these are some of the tips that you can keep in mind while getting your reviewers and while taking care of the comments that your reviewer and editor have made. Now this is all we have time for in this lecture. It's time to wind up. So thank you very much for listening. The last lecture will focus on a summary, a review of all the slides that we have covered, the entire study material. And if I get more questions in the meantime, I'll try and address those also. But the last lecture will just be a conclusion and a wrap up, and the lecture after this, and I'll go through all the slides in that lecture and try and highlight the points where I feel that confusion may occur. So thank you very much for listening and for participating so well and so wholeheartedly on the forum. Thank you.